whistled through the air, spinning like a top caught in Oya's wild winds. The pot of wisdom slipped from his belly, popping out mid-fall with a faint glow. "No!" he wailed, his 8 legs clawing at nothing as it plummeted away. He crashed into...
Welcome back to another episode of Timbuktu. Today we'll delve into the adventures of Anansi, the Trickster spider.
Once upon a time, high above the clouds, the heavens unfurled like a fevered dream, a realm so strange it defied all earthly logic. The sun up here wasn't golden, it blazed a wild, shimmering green, its light spilling over the floating islands of jagged crystal that bobbed in the air like ships on an invisible sea. The sky burned a deep, endless red, streaked with veins of molten gold and swirling purple clouds that twisted as if alive. Rainbow bridges arched between the islands, their colors pulsing faintly, while silvery mist coiled around their bases, glowing faintly under the green sun's eerie gleam. Strange winds whistled through the gaps, carrying whispers of ancient songs, and the air shimmered with a faint hum of power. This was the home of the gods and goddesses, a place so otherworldly, it felt like stepping into a painting spun from chaos and wonder. Among these divine beings scuttled Anansi the spider, a tiny trickster with 8 skinny legs and a mind buzzing with mischief. He wasn't like the others, who ruled with booming voices and grand gestures that shook the red sky. Anansi lived for chaos and giggles. His shiny black body darted across the crystal islands, his 8 sneaky eyes glinting like wet emeralds as he spun webs that sparkled against the green sunlight, catching the mist in delicate traps. Anansi had been stirring trouble up here since time began. Long ago, he tricked the sky god Nyame into handing over all the stories in the world. "I'll catch you 4 impossible things," he'd boasted, his grin sly as a snake's. First, he snared a python by tangling it in a web disguised as vines. Then, he dug a pit, covered it with leaves, and lured a leopard in with a trail of meat. He even nabbed a fairy by pretending to be stuck in a puddle of honey, laughing as she fluttered into his trap. When Nyame, red-faced and grumbling, gave up the stories, Anansi scampered off, crowing, "They're mine now!" Nyame's thunder shook the red sky, but Anansi just danced away. Another time, he outsmarted the moon goddess, Selene, who adored her silver glow above all else. Anansi spent days weaving a web so fine and dazzling it mimicked moonlight spilling across the crystal islands. "Trade me your shine for this treasure," he called, dangling a sack of pebbles he'd polished until they gleamed like stars. Selene, entranced, swapped her glow, only to open the sack later and find dull, dusty rocks. Her wail echoed through the red sky, but Anansi was long gone, swinging on a rainbow bridge, chuckling under the green sun. Then there was his prank on Bez, the most ancient one. Bes treasured his giant fly whisk, using it to swat chaos into order across the heavens. One night, while Bes snored under a crystal tree, Anansi crept up and tied the whisk's feathers into a mess of knots. The next day, Bes waved it proudly, only to unleash a blizzard of tangled feathers that rained down, clogging the rainbow bridges and dusting the red sky with fluff. "Anansi!" Bes bellowed, his voice rattling the islands as the spider hid behind a misty boulder, snickering until his sides ached. These antics made Anansi a legend, but they drove the gods up the wall. They'd catch him sneaking into their feasts, gobbling up starry fruits that twinkled like fireflies, or tangling their golden clouds with sticky webs that shimmered in the green light. "That spider's too clever for his own good," they'd grumble, brushing strands off their robes as the mist carried his giggles. Lately, though, Anansi was bored. The same old tricks felt stale. He'd perch on a crystal ledge, gazing down through the red sky's haze at Earth below, where humans scurried about, in their tiny, busy lives. Trees swayed, rivers gleamed, and new possibilities winked up at him. Maybe that's where the real fun hides, he mused, his 8 eyes sparkling with restless hunger. The gods saw his wandering gaze, and they'd had it. One day they huddled in secret, far from Anansi's prying webs, in a shadowy nook where the green sun's light dimmed to a faint glow. The red sky pulsed overhead, its golden streaks flaring like warning signals, and the air buzzed with their irritation. Bess stood tall, his blue robes glowing faintly against the mist, his ostrich feather crown swaying as a strange wind rippled through. His grey beard flowed like a smoky river, and he swished his giant fly whisk, finally untangled after hours of picking at Anansi's knots. "That spider's tricks are unbearable," he growled, his voice deep as the rumble of the red sky. "We need him out of here." Mbamba Mwana, goddess of rainbows and beer, stepped forward, her dress shimmering with every hue of the rainbow, casting prisms across the crystal floor. "He won't go willingly," she said, her voice soft but edged with steel. "We'll have to outsmart him, beat him at his own game." Oya, the stormy goddess, grinned wickedly, her silver sword flashing like a shard of the green sun. "Let's send him to Earth. He'll never see it coming." Mbamba had the perfect bait. Anansi couldn't resist a feast or a drink. So she called out across the heavens, her voice sweet as the mist. "Anansi, come to my rainbow hut tonight. I've got piles of food and the sweetest beer ever brewed." Her hut floated high, its walls woven from rainbow arches that glowed against the red sky, their colors dancing in the green sunlight. Anansi's stomach growled loud enough to shake his web. His legs twitched with glee. "Beer, you say?" "I'm there," he chirped, scampering over without a whiff of doubt. Inside, the hut was a marvel. The air hummed with the scent of roasted yams, ripe fruits bursting with juice, and golden bread steaming hot. Mammoth tusks brimmed with frothy beer that sparkled like melted stars, its foam catching the green sun's glow through the rainbow walls. Anansi dove in, slurping and munching until his belly bulged like a little black balloon. The beer was so sweet, so strong, it fuzzied his head and warmed his 8 legs. This is paradise," he slurred, his eyes drooping as the red sky outside pulsed faintly. Soon, he flopped onto a cushion of rainbow fluff and sank into a deep, snoring sleep, the green sun dipping low to paint his snoozing form in eerie light. Under that wild red sky, the gods' plan was spinning into motion. While Anansi snored, the gods raced to the Valley of Decisions, a vast canyon carved deep into the heaven's heart. Jagged cliffs of black obsidian towered around it, their surfaces shimmering like wet ink under the green sun's pulsing glow. A river of liquid starlight snaked through the valley floor, its silver gleam reflecting the red sky's fiery swirls. Crystal peaks jutted up like teeth, catching the green light and fracturing it into dazzling beams. The air thrummed with power, thick with the scent of ozone and mist, and the red sky rumbled overhead, streaked with gold and purple as if it might split apart. Strange echoes bounced off the cliffs, low hums and distant roars, making the valley feel alive. Bess led the charge, his blue robes billowing in the misty wind that swept through the canyon. "It's time," he said, his voice rolling like thunder across the starlit river. "We'll send Anansi to Earth, but he'll think it's his own brilliant idea." The gods gathered near a roaring furnace at the valley's center, its flames leaping high with tongues of violet and gold. Heat poured off it, warping the air into shimmery waves that danced against the red sky. The ground trembled faintly under its power, and the green sun flared brighter, as if watching. Oya rode in on her raging buffalo, its red horns slashing through the silvery mist that coiled around the cliffs. She leaped off, her silver sword gleaming like a captured star. "He's been a thorn too long," she snapped, planting her feet on the obsidian. "Last week, He stole Bess's sacred flies and let them loose in my storms, messed up a whole tornado. Bess nodded, his grey beard swaying. And he webbed up Mbamba's harvest clouds, ruined a season of starfruit. Took me days to untangle. Mbamba sighed, brushing a rainbow strand from her shimmering dress. He even drank half my brewing vats once, claiming it was payment for his tricks. We need him gone. Bess tossed a handful of gold nuggets into an earthen pot and slid it into the furnace. The flames roared louder, licking the clay until it glowed. Oya pointed her saw at the sun. Green sun, pulling fiery ribbons of light down from its shimmering surface. The gold melted into a glowing puddle, bubbling and spitting sparks that flared against the red sky. Bess worked fast, shaping the liquid into a stunning golden stool. Its surface gleamed like a tiny sun, etched with storm runes Oya carved with quick flicks of her blade, swirls and jagged lines that pulsed faintly. "This'll catch his greedy eyes," she said with a wicked grin, admiring her work. "Winds, obey me!" Oya shouted, raising her sword high. A gust tore through the valley, rattling the crystal peaks and whipping the river of starlight into frothy waves. It snatched the stool and hurled it toward earth, the red sky parting with jagged streaks of violet lightning as it soared. The golden speck vanished into the swirling clouds, its glow fading against the green sun's eerie light. "That stool will land with the humans," Bess explained, his whisk swishing the mist. "It'll choose a king, a boy named Osei Tutu, and Anansi, he'll follow it down like a moth to a flame." Mbamba smiled, her rainbow dress casting prisms across the obsidian cliffs. "He can't resist shiny things or a chance to meddle. He'll jump at it." The gods chuckled, their laughter bouncing off the canyon walls like rolling stones. Their plan was slick: trick Anansi into leaving by dangling a job he'd crave. They'd puff up his pride, make him feel like a hero, but really, they'd be rid of his sticky webs and endless pranks. A rustling broke the moment. Anansi, groggy from beer and sleep, had woken up. He'd stumbled to the valley's edge, dodging tendrils of glowing mist that snaked through the air like ghostly fingers. Hiding behind a crystal boulder, its surface cool against his legs, he peeked out, his 8 eyes narrowing to slits. "What's all this racket?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over the furnace's roar. He saw the golden stool vanish into the clouds and caught snatches of the gods' talk. Earth, a king, a plan. The green sun pulsed overhead, casting his shadow long and spidery across the obsidian. Something big was brewing, and he hated being left out. His legs twitched. He'd find out more, one way or another. The golden stool blazed through the heavens like a comet, its glow cutting through the red sky's swirling chaos. Violet lightning crackled around it, snapping and hissing as the green sun's light flashed through thick, stormy clouds, painting the scene in wild, unearthly hues. It tore through the silvery mist, a radiant streak that blinded birds flapping in the distance and sent ghostly shapes scurrying from its path. Oya's howling winds twisted it this way and that, while Mbamba's rainbow gusts added spirals of color, guiding it toward Earth. The horizon below shimmered, a strange blend of the red sky fading into Earth's deep blue, dotted with glints of green from the sun above. It was a sight to make your head spin. The stool plunged toward a hill, blanketed in purpling jacaranda trees, their branches swaying as if waving it down. It crashed through, scattering petals like violet snow, and slowed as it neared an Asante city. Houses, with roofs glinting like molten silver, sparkled under the odd shifting light, their edges catching the green sun's glow. One house stood out, painted with maroon symbols that pulsed faintly, as if alive. Outside, Okomfo Anokye, an old priest with a gnarled staff, waited patiently. He dreamed of this moment, a golden gift from the heavens, foretold in whispers. Inside, a mother cradled her newborn son, Osei Tutu, humming a soft lullaby about rivers and stars. Her voice floated through the open door, mingling with the distant rumble of the storm. The stool drifted in, gentle now, its glow softening the room. The baby's eyes widened, bright and curious. He stood, mere minutes old, and the stool settled in his lap, warm but safe, like a friend. He giggled, patting it with tiny hands, then set it carefully on the floor. The mother gasped, tears shining in her eyes, as the priest rushed in, staff raised high. "The king is born!" he cried, his voice trembling with awe. Osei Tutu, the first Asantehene, was destined to rule from that golden throne, a gift from the strange skies above. Back in the heavens, the gods watched from the Valley of Decisions, the red sky swirling like a living thing above the obsidian cliffs. Anansi crept closer, still hidden behind his boulder, the mist cool against his legs. A baby with a golden stool. Madness. Bess turned, holding the earthen pot he'd used in the furnace, its clay still warm from the flames. "Anansi!" he boomed, his voice echoing off the crystal peaks. "You slept through the action, but you can still play a part. Take my pot of wisdom to the boy king. It holds knowledge he'll need to rule wisely." Anansi's heart skipped a beat. "Me? Deliver wisdom? Oh, what an honor, my lord," he said, bowing low, his legs trembling with fake humility. But inside, his tricky mind raced like a storm. "Wisdom's power," he muttered to himself, rubbing two legs together. "Why hand it over? I could keep it, be the cleverest creature alive. That baby won't miss what he never had." Bess handed him the pot, heavy and glowing faintly under the green sun. Anansi scurried back to his treehouse atop an ancient baobab, its gnarled branches clawing at the red sky like skeletal hands. There, he packed his belongings, old webs sticky with mist, shiny stones he'd swiped from the river of starlight, swallowing them down like snacks. He held the pot of wisdom up, its clay warm against his legs, glowing softly in the green light. "If I carry it, someone might steal it," he said aloud, pacing the treehouse. "But if it's inside me, ha! Foolproof." With a big gulp, he swallowed it whole, his magical spider body unchanged despite the weight. He smirked, admiring his reflection in a crystal shard. "I'll decide later, me or that kid. Probably me." He set to work spinning a massive web, thick and glittering like silver threads. His 8 legs danced, weaving a rope from the heavens to earth. The red sky flashed as he tugged and pulled, storms brewing below from the effort. The web shimmered against the green sun, its strands catching the mist in delicate beads. When it was done, he tied one end to his baobab and let the other plunge through the clouds, a lifeline to the world below. He glanced at the green sun, its light pulsing, and waved to the gods in the distance. They waved back, their smiles sly and knowing. "Here I go," he shouted, grasping the web and leaping into the stormy sky, the pot nestled safe inside him, for now. Anansi swung down his web, the red sky above him churning with black spirals and streaks of molten gold. Oya's winds roared through the heavens, kicking up glowing violet dust that stung his 8 eyes and swirled around him like a living shroud. The green sun's light fractured through fat raindrops, scattering emerald glints across the clouds that raced past. His web glowed faintly, a silver thread stretched taut against the wild, otherworldly palette of the skies. Earth loomed closer, green hills rolling like waves, rivers twisting like silver snakes, and tiny houses peeking through the fading red haze. The air howled, thick with the scent of rain and power, but trouble brewed fast. The pot of wisdom in his belly felt heavier with every swing, dragging him down like a stone tied to his legs. The web shook violently, swaying in the stormy gusts that tore at its strands. "This isn't how it's supposed to go," he yelped, clutching tighter, his claws digging into the sticky rope. Then the pot started to hum, a soft voice whispering from inside him. "Anansi, I hold secrets. How to grow crops, how to heal wounds, how to dream new worlds." His eyes widened, glinting in the green light. Secrets? Oh, these are mine, he gasped, his greedy heart thumping. Share me. The pot pressed, its voice growing insistent. Wisdom isn't yours to hoard. Anansi scowled, shaking his head. Share? With who? That baby. Ha, he snapped, arguing aloud as the wind whipped his words away. I could rule with this, be smarter than the gods. Why give it up? The whispers grew louder. How to build, how to lead. And the web trembled harder. A strand snapped with a sharp twang, then another. He dangled, legs flailing wildly as a vortex of Oya's wind swirled below, a black maw of storm ready to swallow him. He scrambled, his claws scraping the web as it swayed. Get a grip, Anansi, he shouted to himself, his voice cracking with panic. The green sun flared through the clouds, casting jagged shadows, and the red sky spun like a top above him. The pot's weight pulled harder, and earth rushed closer, too close. He teetered on a choice. Hold on to the wisdom and risk crashing into that vortex, or let it go and maybe save his hide. I'm the trickster, he huffed, his breath ragged. I don't lose. But the web groaned louder, another strand popping, and a gust tossed him sideways into the storm's grip. For once, Anansi's cleverness hung by a thread, and it was fraying fast. The web couldn't take it. With a loud snap that echoed through the stormy sky, it broke clean in two. Anansi tumbled through the air, spinning like a top caught in Oya's wild winds. The pot of wisdom slipped from his belly, popping out mid-fall with a faint glow. "No!" he wailed, his 8 legs clawing at nothing as it plummeted away. He crashed into a muddy puddle on earth with a wet splat, the muck splashing up to mirror the red sky's glow and the green sun's eerie light filtering through the clouds. The pot hit the ground hard and shattered into 1,000 pieces, golden sparks arcing across the land like tiny green suns streaking through the fading storm. Shards scattered wide, glinting under the jacaranda trees, still swaying from the wind. A fisherman by a river found one, blinking as he suddenly knew how to weave a net that'd catch twice the fish. A mother picking herbs grabbed another, her mind filling with lullabies to soothe her restless kids. A boy building a hut stumbled on a piece, grinning as he figured out how to stack stones stronger than ever. The biggest shard landed in Osei Tutu's tiny hands. The baby king clapped, rolling it like a toy across the golden stool, his bright eyes sparkling with a destiny he couldn't yet name. Up in the heavens, the gods watched from the Valley of Decisions, their laughter booming through the red sky and rattling the obsidian cliffs. Bess slapped his knee, his grey beard shaking. That greedy spider did our work for us. Mbamba giggled, her rainbow dress casting prisms across the misty air. He spread wisdom without even trying. Oya nodded, sheathing her silver sword. Tricked by his own trickery, couldn't have planned it better. Their scheme had unfolded perfectly, just not how Anansi had schemed it. Anansi crawled from the puddle, shaking off globs of mud that gleamed with the heaven's strange hues, red streaks and green flecks clinging to his legs. "You cheats!" he yelled at the sky, his voice hoarse. "You knew I'd mess this up. I'll get you back. Mark my words." But deep down, he knew he'd been outplayed fair and square. He glanced around at the humans buzzing with new ideas, their lives brighter thanks to the wisdom he'd lost. "Well," he grumbled, flicking mud from an eye, "at least I'm on Earth now. Plenty of folks to trick down here, and no gods to boss me around." And so, Anansi's adventures among humans kicked off, all because he couldn't resist a shiny prize, or a chance to outsmart everyone. The gods had taught him a lesson he'd never forget. No one, not even the slickest trickster, can hoard wisdom alone. It's meant to scatter, to grow, to light up the world, whether you like it or not.
Thanks for watching yet another episode of Timbuktu Tales. Like, share and subscribe to watch more of such amazing tales from Africa. Are there any stories you would like us to work on? Feel free to share your ideas in the comments section below. And hey, don't forget to hit that notification bell to always get updates.